We on here? Yeah. Thanks for coming tonight. I'm Robert Mahold, and this meeting is being recorded by DHC TV, by Dartmouth Community Media. Okay. So we're going to take care of a couple things first. Is everybody on the board had a chance to review the minutes from last month?
Yes.
Okay, great. Can I get a motion to approve recording them?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from May 5th.
Second.
Okay.
With one, I'm sorry, there's just one typo.
Okay.
Under the April, when we took the vote, it was unanimous I was recusing myself.
I see.
So
I think it didn't, isn't it on there? It should have been.
just the spelling.
Oh, the spelling,
Yeah.
okay. I hit spell check and it was
Okay,
fine.
that's all right.
Okay. So will you take care of that, making that amendment to it? So let's go ahead and approve it with amendment. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So passed. That's great. Good. Let's get going with the agenda. We've got a bunch of stuff tonight. Okay. I think you're up first, Jason. Rocket Dundee. Well, there are two, actually, 842 and 801. 842 is first.
He's 842.
Okay, great. Yep. Oh, sure. Sure. There might be a bunch in there, but yeah. Maybe behind it? I don't know. Yeah, please just introduce yourself and say whether you're a contractor, architect, builder, et cetera. And
All right. So I'm Jason Maurer. I'm the architect and the general contractor for the project. This is for the Hall residence. Generally, what you see here is there's an addition, coming off an existing building right here. So this is the addition. This is existing. We are adding a dormer on the top, expanding it because it has very low headroom upstairs. So I'm trying to give a little bit more usable space upstairs, as well as an entry addition coming in to make it efficient, just entering and exiting the house. Currently, they kind of walk all the way around the house to kind of come in from the driveway. So they're looking just to make it a little more efficient. So plan-wise, which you guys don't necessarily have control over, it's a kitchen, it's an entry and a pantry. Is really the addition that's coming onto the project. The overall change on what we're doing on the exterior, this is the dormered second floor, which gives a little more space. Is elevations.
well, you got shadow on it. That's pretty nice.
So you basically we're keeping in tune with the existing windows of the house, same size, configuration, and they're simulated divided lights, so they'll be in tune with the rest of it. The additions here, all siding will be in kind with the existing building, which is wood siding. We are going to most likely do PVC trim just for maintenance purposes for the property. There's quite a bit of rot right now on the existing trims. They don't really have any kind of overhang, so they deal with the water and rot there right now. So. That's generally the gist of what we're doing here. The back elevation.
Jason, just to understand, is the trim, is it like normal 6-inch trim, or is it?
Yeah, the trim will match in sizing and profile.
Okay.
We're just going to use PVC material just because for a little bit more durable material. So the back facade, which faces away from the street, you can't really see it from anywhere except for if you're flying above the Slocum River. So we have another dormer out the back. And then there's already a patio door there. We're replacing it and sliding it over a little bit, and there's a couple more windows. But the addition is right here, the existing part is there, so we're not really changing the footprint at all. It's really just a dormer work up top and then that addition. So I kind of laid out for you guys on the pictures that I submitted, you know, what the work was happening on each facade, so.
Okay. So it's mostly just the sheltered entryway, and then the, you know, the expansion to the kitchen, it's just the,
Yeah, so currently, there's no dormer on the front, so we're adding a dormer on the front. There is a small doghouse dormer on the back, which is pretty useless. So that is expanding to a full shed dormer on the back side.
that's great.
Okay.
Any questions? Oh, my gosh. You have, you know, presupposed all the questions that were going to come, and you answered them in advance, and so,
My biggest question, I don't know if you guys can answer.
yeah. Well, what is it?
No, it's just the process. Yeah, you know.
I think that's something that we need to refine and make much better and clearer to everybody. So I appreciate, you know, this having come up, and I'll work with Mike and to make sure this is better, and hopefully to add it to the workflow on the portal. So that's good. Okay, so I don't know whether we have a requirement to approve this, but I'm going to still ask for a motion to approve it and see if I could take it to Mike and just let it go to save you some time, but maybe not. But at least let them know that we talked. So can I get a motion to approve these plans as they are?
I make a motion to approve the work for HDPR 25-14 at 842 Rockadundy Road, as explained here tonight.
Okay.
And I second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Jason, thanks for coming in, I appreciate it.
Okay.
That was pretty easy.
So should I still continue with Mike?
Yeah, but I'll give him a call tomorrow.
Okay.
And I'll text you.
Okay,
I
all
want
right.
to find out, thanks.
That sounds good, thank you.
Yeah, sure. I don't know how to pronounce Mike's last name, but I'll figure it out.
Wojciechowski.
Wojciechowski? Okay, all right. Great. HGPR 25-15, 801 Rockadundy Road. Okay. Who is the, that's not you?
I know, I was just curious.
Yeah. And I don't have the,
Portal.
it's in the, right, I don't, anyway, they didn't show up for it, or they didn't get a call. Tim Howland. Yeah, I was kind of expecting to see him tonight, actually. Yeah.
Actually,
Okay, we're gonna,
I can text him and see where he is.
yeah, I could text him.
but we still need to discuss and vote on it since
Right.
it's on the agenda.
Yeah,
Well, unless he wants us to wait, if he's coming and he's late, that can get bumped.
Right,
Right.
I didn't mean it had to go in order just before we adjourn.
what is this, what room is it?
Pardon?
What room is it?
3:15.
Okay, let's just table that for the time being. Okay. So, now we're going to talk about HGPR 25-16, 13 Madaris Lane. And I think I've seen this house before.
Thank you, folks. So I'm Greg Jones, architect for 13 Madaris Lane. It's an old summer home in Nonquit, and we've done some work on it over the years, and this year it's to replace the rear sunroom porch. If you had a chance to look at the pictures, it's original to the house, but it is in significant need of structural repair. Water has been leaking. It's basically a flat roof over the porch. The wood gutters have rotted. All the water's been pouring down, sitting on the windowsills, leaking into the house, rotting the posts and the sills. So we've been called in. Lima Construction is going to do the restoration work starting in the fall. Been called in to figure out how to replace it. And given the condition of all the components, all the windows have been painted shut, with the exception of a couple. The ones that haven't been painted shut, the meeting rails are rotting, the sills are rotting, single pane glass. So we intend to replace the windows, the structure, the siding, The siding would be new white cedar shingles to match the rest. We're trying to keep a similar window layout, basically big picture windows looking out on the water. This one looks to the side yard. The one thing significant that we are changing is the corner has these sort of funky custom columns.
Yeah.
They're really very unusual. We've gotten some numbers to replace them in kind, and it's really cost prohibitive to try and make these and make them structural. So what we're proposing to do instead, the rest of the columns on the porch are these sort of fluted, flat pieces with some molding along the top. So what we would like to do is we would match those throughout the project and eliminate the, I don't even know what kind of columns you'd call them, round tulip head sort of things. Replace the windows, obviously, with operable double-hung windows. Over time, they have replaced windows in the house with clad windows, which is what we're proposing to do. Wood on the interior, clad on the exterior, either Pella's or Marvin. And you can see what we're trying to make it, again, look like it always had, with the exception of the sort of tulip columns. Replace the wood gutters that are pretty much rotted with fiberglass gutters that match the profile of the wood gutters. Because one of the issues with all these wood gutters, the interior is so small, even though the outside is fairly robust, the interior hardly holds any water, whereas the new fiberglass gutters are very thin in profile, so they hold almost twice the amount of rainwater. And with this giant roof, this big roof, having those small wood gutters, it all lands on the flat roof, which then just overflows the gutters there. So hopefully with the new fiberglass gutters, we'll eliminate a lot of the spillover, and hopefully we won't be replacing the structure for a long time again.
Craig, did you mention that you wouldn't be able to replicate the sort of the fluted columns?
I mean, they could be done, it's just, given that we're replacing all the structure, it's gotten to be a very expensive project, so the homeowners asked us to try and look for ways to, without destroying the integrity of the look of the thing, look for ways to economize. And these columns that are there, you may see better in some of the pictures I submitted. They've been patched and fiberglassed and bondoed over the years, and all those chunks have fallen out. And you can stick your fingernails in the base of all these, and they're just shot. They really can't be patched anymore.
Okay.
So that's that one in a nutshell.
Okay.
Yes.
So I guess in looking at that, I thought that some of those windows were dead lights, but they're not.
Some of them are, like these two in the center, these are just, they've never been operable, they've just been big picture windows. So we intend to put large picture windows pretty much where those were. Then the ones on the corners, some of them, well, at one point in time, they all were narrow double hungs that went up and down. But again, most of them have been painted shut, with the exception of these two where they had installed some storm windows, which bought them some time. But even in these that have been protected by storm windows, the meeting rails have rotted and the glass is separated because of the weight of them. So what we plan to do for those is to replace all the double hungs with new double hungs that will operate again, and eliminate storm windows because they'll be insulated glass.
Okay.
So that funky millwork with the,
Tulip head thing.
they're not purely posts that could be turned as one and then ripped down the middle.
They could, it's just, they're about 6 or 7 inches in diameter,
Oh,
so
see,
they're
that
big.
I didn't appreciate
Yeah,
that by
yeah.
looking at them.
They're
Okay, never
big
mind.
chunks of wood.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions?
This isn't related to the project itself. Do you know the original architect?
You know, I did, because I looked it up on the, there is a Form B on this, and it's, I'll shoot you the Form
I
B.
forgot to look at it.
Yeah, yeah.
To look
I want to say Nat Smith, but I don't think that's right.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Do I have to make a note about Form B?
Well, we don't have a number, and I looked for it in the Macros database, and they
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I
claim that
dug
it-
this one up, so I'll shoot it to you once I get back to the office.
Would you, because I didn't see it either, I poked around, I didn't see it either.
Okay, could be I'm having a senior moment and confusing with another project, but I'll double check.
Okay. That's great, thank you, Greg. Can I get a motion to approve HDPR 25-16, 13 Meadows Lane?
I'll make a motion to approve HDPR-2516, 13 Madaras Lane, as described in the description.
Second?
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Great, thank you for coming in, appreciate it.
Thank you. I think I've got the next one, I think.
Oh, you probably do, it's Richard Street? I think you do, yeah, you're right. Okay, well, why don't you just stay there, HDPR 25-17, 30 Richard Street, built in 1925. Okay,
Okay, Greg Jones, architect for 230 Richard Street. This one's a little bit of an oddball. I got a call from a building inspector a couple months ago. An older couple owned this property, and they had renovated the third floor for their son to live in. It's currently a two-family, both first and second floor rented out, and the third floor was fitted out for their son. Unfortunately, there were no permits pulled for it when that was done. Building inspector got wind of it, did an inspection, and found everything was in order with the exception of the rear staircase. You need two means of egress from any residential unit. So the building department was willing to accept this as an ADU under the new ADU regulations, even though it's registered as a two-family house, so long as they cured the rear headroom issue in the back staircase. There's a photograph, it's kind of hard to make out, that I submitted. This is the back staircase, and in order to get to it, you have to duck under a valley rafter that's about 5'6" off the floor at its highest point. So the inspector said he can't accept, somebody having to duck underneath that in the event of a fire to access the stairs. The stairs themselves all meet code. They're big, they're wide, they have the proper treads and risers. So he asked me, because they're very nice folks, but not savvy on building permits, if I could come up with a solution to help them get some headroom in that back staircase. So what I propose to do is take this gable, which is where the headroom issue is, and raise it about 4 feet. That eliminates the headroom problem. I've looked at as many solutions as I possibly could to come up with something that I think is pleasing. This one, I'm not sure I've succeeded 100%, but I can't come up with something better, to be honest. It's on the back of the property, so you don't see a lot of it from the street, but it's basically taking this element, lifting it up higher. Because this roof is a hip roof, we don't want to get into rebuilding this whole hip section back here. So we did a little three-dimensional sketch showing what that would look like from the backside.
how far back does that gable go toward the hip?
So this distance is about 13 feet from here to here, which is the depth from the outside wall to the back to an inside bearing wall, which is where I could bring a post down to hold up the top of the gable. The problem with this current roof is this ridge for the hip comes down inside that space, and that's what you hit your head on when you try and get to that back stair. So, yeah.
Okay.
Is there integrity for the rest of the house when you start raising?
Well, one of the other challenges is just that question. Until we start to open up the existing roof, because it's all plastered in there, you can't, without ripping it apart, you don't have 100% idea of what we're going to be dealing with. And I've tried to explain it to the homeowner that once we raise this and we have to bring this ridge up higher and bring a post down, we've got to open up their newly finished walls to see what we're sitting on, because we can't just sit it on a piece of plywood flooring between two floor joists. So we
You have an outside staircase for the little?
You could, but I think the cost would, the contractor they've engaged has put a number of about $75,000 just to do this. And it's pretty pricey just to get access to that stair. So an outside stair would be another challenge. I think, more expensive challenge.
Like a
And fire escapes aren't,
escape kind of.
yeah, not permittable under the Mass Building Code.
Okay, that's the way they want to go. Okay, great, I appreciate that, Greg. Any questions from the group? No? Okay, can I get a motion on HGPR 25-17, 230 Richard Street?
I'll make a motion to accept the changes to 230 Richard Street, HDPR 2517.
And I'll second.
Okay, great, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye? Okay, great. Greg, thank you for coming in for both of those.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Okay. Okay, great. That was easy. Now we're looking at HCPR 25-17, 872 Division Road.
18, that's a typo.
Yep.
Oh, pardon me, okay. Is it? 872. Is that correct? Yeah. Was it
It's
Yeah,
25-18.
18? Got it.
The application numbers.
Linda,
Are there any tax by chance?
You know, maybe under that alligator clip, or take it, take whatever you need. Of course, right.
Okay, I am Lucy Snyder. I'm the architectural designer for Kai Armstrong at 872 Division Road in Dartmouth. And we are proposing putting on a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, mudroom addition, all single-story, to the existing over 100-year-old house. And these are the existing condition floor plan. This is the first floor. This is the west facade that faces Division Road. And you can see it's primarily single story, and then there's loft kind of storage room on the second story. So the proposal is to demo just this one about 12-foot east wall without changing the footprint or modifying anything about the kitchen, and adding on to the east and northeast.
Okay.
So that's the only portion of the existing structure that we're changing. And this is the new proposed plan showing the pantry that you step down into, and then another step down into a bedroom with doors accessing either direction, and then into the primary bedroom suite. And so the drawings here show the view of the house from the road, and then I've modeled, and what's highlighted in red is the existing. And from the road, this is what you would see of the addition beyond to the east and the north. And then this is a view from the north, the existing in red, and the bedroom addition wing coming out. And then another view from the east, as well as from the southeast. So you can see we're just extending that gable out, continuing all of the gutter, fascia rake detail, keeping the style of the existing house with the corner boards, the cedar shingles, the pink color, the double hung windows, the mullions, and yeah, just enhancing the square footage, but not really changing the look or the feel of the existing structure.
Okay. I couldn't tell from the, just because I couldn't read the schematics so well, but what connects the kitchen to the to the primary bedroom and everything else. Does the door go through the pantry?
Yes, yep, exactly. So currently, there's a wall here. We're taking that wall off and then extending that room. So this will all be open. This pantry will be open to the kitchen
Okay.
by about 7 feet. It'll have 2 steps down, so this will be lower. And you walk through the pantry that will have a big picture window looking to the backyard. And then another 1 step down into the mudroom with a cased opening that'll have a pocket door. So most of the time it'll be open and you have connection to that mudroom. And then when you're in the mudroom, there's a door into the bedroom. So you can, but these doors go outside, so you could also enter the house from those doors.
Okay, so you can go from the bedroom, through those doors, into the pantry, into the kitchen?
Yes,
Okay, got it.
exactly.
Okay, that makes
Yep.
sense to me. Okay. And the part that's just bottom right there, that is existing, is that correct?
No, so this
No, that's-
is outdoor patio.
that's outdoor patio. Okay, I was
Yep,
confused
yeah, so
by that.
outdoor
Okay, got it.
furniture, that's a little confusing, sorry.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, so this is existing, and there is a patio currently right here that we're keeping as well.
Okay.
Yep. And this will be like flush with grade. This one, which you can see in the pictures, very small, is raised. That's the existing back patio here, and the addition will go on that end.
Okay. And but be fully 2 stories?
This is all 1 story, so the addition is all
Okay.
1 story as well.
Okay, it's a second floor plan, but that's,
Yeah, the second floor end is just that front
okay, just
portion
existing.
of the building.
Got it, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's within this gable, so it's like a, an attic type space.
okay, looks pretty. Okay, any questions from the group about this?
No?
Wow, okay, that's a little unusual. Okay, can I get a motion to approve HDPR 25-18, 872 Division Road?
I have a question.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
When they have your step down from one space to another, are there gonna be some sort of safety handrails or something to, you can?
Yeah,
if you
so,
decide to, if something gets hectic or a party or something, and people are going up and down this, how high?
right, it's just 2 steps, so by code, you don't need to have a full handrail, but we are gonna have a bench, like, blocking off the majority of that step that she can sit on or put plants or books on, and then where the 2 steps are, it's just a normal stair width, so by code, you don't have to have a full railing there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good. Any other questions? Okay, can I get a motion on that?
I make a motion to approve HDPR 25-18, 872 Division Road, according to the description on paper and delivered here today.
And I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, great. Lucy, thanks for coming in, I
Thank you.
appreciate it. And, pardon me, I'm sorry. For that? Is it in here? Yeah. Okay.
So, you want to explain?
Yeah, sure. And you could probably do a better job than I could, but there, are you the owners back there? No, it's different people.
Oh, I am.
You are, okay. There is a, what's what we call a Form B on this property, which is just means that it was warranted to be of historical interest at some point, and so the commission and the town spent money to investigate it further, just to understand better the history of it as near as anybody could ascertain. So that work's been done, and it's now part of the Massachusetts Cultural Resource Information System, so we call it MACRIS. So it's all online, all the details about it, about the entire history of that house are online, and we've got a copy here for you if you'd like to have it at some point. And there's certainly a pointer where you can find it on Macros. Actually, it points it out at the bottom. So, and Linda was kind enough to print it out and bring it in here, so.
Robert,
Can you
what's the
please-
number?
Pardon me, sorry.
Who did the Form B, please?
Oh, pardon me, okay, sorry. It was done by,
It's on the next page.
okay. This is called the Price Allen House, I guess? Prince Allen, pardon me. It was done by Jeffrey McIntosh. Mellowish, I'm sorry, my eyes are not good. Yes,
And
it
what's
was
the date?
2010?
And the date is not 1922 if it was,
It says 1850 on this.
well, what we got was 1922
Okay,
through the portal.
Yeah, so that was what was on the town assessors, and Kai informed me that
Okay.
it in fact is 1850. So I had just taken that information from
understand.
the town.
I think in general, that's something that we don't have a lot of faith in the town portal, just because it's got a slapdash, and where there is a Form B, or somebody's done the work to do the diligence and figure it out, that, of course, is a system of record. But anyway, be that as it may, it's all good, and we should just make note of the fact that was built in 1850-ish, circa.
Is
And
there a DR number?
yeah, there is,
Yeah.
630? 630, yeah. So,
Barn is 631.
What's that?
The barn is 631.
okay. Okay,
So the house is 630 and the barn is 631.
so that's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, that's so great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So, thank you very much, Linda. So that's good to know, and so it was done in 2010, so way before, anyway, that's great. Thank you. Yes? Thank you very much, appreciate it, good to see you.
Thank you all.
And I've not heard,
I heard from Tim,
Okay.
only because I work for him.
yeah, oh, good. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay,
And evidently somehow they missed the notice that there was a meeting tonight, so they need to reschedule.
okay, that's fine. Okay, we can talk about that, that's for sure. So we're going to just postpone it and extend it into the next meeting. Okay, that is the end of the demolition permits at this point. Hello,
Hello,
who are you folks?
we are here on this plaque.
Great. And you are Julie, is that right? Julie, I want to thank you for coming in on a very short notice. I know that Michelle, who is our kind of our full-time support here, wrote me, after you wrote me back, and said, you know what, I forgot. And so I'm very sorry that you didn't get an invite to come in tonight, but that's just that's the way that goes. I appreciate you taking the time. You put in a plaque application for 586 Elm Street, which I know really well. Assessor's building date is 1812. And on the Form B is 1840. Yeah, so I'm not sure why, but you recorded both of those there. And Phil, did you do work on that one?
There was a blue file on the table, and I believe Michelle had put it in there.
Okay.
And it stayed there.
Okay.
So I don't know where it went.
Okay, we are just, yeah, I'm pretty new to the commission, so we're trying to sort of revamp our process for doing verification of, what people get off the website and such, just to make sure that it's accurate when it goes forward, because it becomes something that's pretty important on the outside of the house. So,
What number was that again?
86. But because there was a Form B for this, it means that the work was done very, very thoroughly, as you understand. And so that seems like it's as good as we're going to get, that's for sure. So, and you submitted a bunch of good documentation, which I appreciate.
There's some paperwork on it.
Okay, all right, well, we have the Form B. It looks like Phil has been kind enough to copy a lot of the stuff from the Bristol County deeds office, just to sort of take another close look at it. But I think the town has got it wrong. I think it's actually not 1812, but actually 1840. But anyway, as you know, so that sounds fine to me. Unless do you have any questions about this particular form?
Well, actually, I did a little
Okay.
digging, and Alonzo Matthews was born approximately 1814, so that date of 1812 could not be correct.
Yeah.
That was number one, and that the date of the house would be closer to 1840.
Stereo, yeah.
Well, Mr.
Looks
Matthews
more like
owned
1840.
quite a number of houses on Elm Street.
That's true. That's true. I think he owned the land before it was parceled out. Great. What else did you have, Sue? Anything else on that?
On that property, no,
No. Okay.
just that there was that discrepancy.
Okay. So we should now, do we have a process to correct this with the town other than just letting them know that? Do you know?
I think
No,
I mean,
not
has
really.
anybody gone through whatever?
No, I have not
Okay.
done that yet,
Well-
but so I will, and we will, but I think the answer is not so much for you folks, but just for us to be able to basically do whatever verification we need to, but then to further correct the record that the town has of that. Certainly the Form B and MACRA should be the system of truth there, but it sounds like Linda's saying that there is no system of letting the assessor know that, but I can explore that, what needs to be done. And so meanwhile, so you folks don't have to wait any longer, do you have a copy of the Form B by any chance?
I believe I submitted.
Okay, I'm sure you did. Actually, I didn't. Yeah.
Because you also submitted the census data, and that's
Yeah.
where it says that he was born 1814, so when I saw that, there was no way
I tried
that,
to do some research, but.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
no.
not an expert.
no, that's,
Thank you. Okay, so I'd like to go ahead and approve this. I don't know, do we need a motion to approve it?
I think we need to review whatever deed research Philip brought back, and then we can make the correction and then submit it, and we
Okay.
can sign off on the plaque.
Okay, so why don't we go ahead and do that? And then I've got your address and your contact information. Let's do this in the next handful of days here and contact you later this week and give you the official seal of approval, okay? I appreciate that very much. Okay, great.
We like telling stories of the houses.
Well, I think it's important. That's the kind of stuff we love. So thank you for doing that. And
When the story that we were told about the house was completely wrong, and that just feels a shame to me.
was it an exciting story?
Oh, of course it was.
More exciting.
Much more exciting than Alonzo Matthews.
To help with the price.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah, I had a house up in Shrewsbury that was about a block outside of the historical district in the center of town, but that was not what was told us when we bought it. And then a couple of years later, I went on, the U.S. government website and the National Register, and it gave a borderline of about a block away from our house. And boy, I was disappointed about that. But anyway, there it
The
is.
1812 date was with, the story was with Captain Snow lived there.
Okay.
And we all know about Captain Snow.
Yeah.
His famous escapades with whales. He was lost at sea.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you again for coming in, and I'll be sure to get word to you, Julie, this week. I've got your email address, and I will do that. Thank you again. Appreciate it. Okay. Looks like you're chomping at the bit there. Great.
Yeah, we are too.
I'm not sure who this guy is.
I don't know, but we also have 441, the application for 441 Elm Street.
Are you 441? Sir, are you here for that? What are you here for?
My name's Bob Hamilton.
Okay. Oh, Bob, thank you for coming in. I appreciate that. We'll get to you in just a second. So it's possible that,
441.
right, that Michelle did not notify this person to come in tonight. I don't know. I have not seen this
I
before.
don't, that doesn't sound, I mean, she's pretty thorough.
Completely understand. But I'm saying about the other one, she just said, oh, I may have forgotten, but she said it was so long ago I've forgotten. So she didn't know, and I don't know what to say. She's not here, so they're not here. So I'll have to contact them, and
What was the address on it?
it was 441 Elm. So I'll send them an email tonight.
It
And
was possible, it was that was from the office at
Right.
the deeds, and it was as it mentions, some extra land.
okay.
So it was.
Not germane, but if you get the folder, I'll take the folder. Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
so, yeah, so we'll just have to contact her and table that for a little bit.
So we're not discussing it.
Well, we could, sure, let's discuss it.
This sort of reemphasizes the importance of utilizing resources in the office. I know there's a big push to have everything online, but if someone doesn't make an effort to go in and check the folder, the address folder, somebody could have picked up this information. There was an entire document that addressed that particular house that had been done by Tony Souza. I'm sure that name doesn't mean anything to. I knew Tony. Well, I'm sure you did, and Linda, of course, did. But this report was done, according to what it said, was done by the Historical Commission, but Tony Souza did the Form B on that particular house. And known as the Captain Ezekiel Harding House, according to this report, he moved that house in 1840. So it's not a 1770 or 1790 date of construction.
Okay,
It's on the folder.
okay. So, I'm sorry, so is it not possible that it could have been constructed in 1790 and moved in 1840?
But if they're calling it the Captain Ezekiel Harding House, it was because he moved it there, not because he had it built.
Okay,
If somebody can find out where the house got moved from and know who built the house, then that would be a different story.
so what does the plaque commonly denote? Does it
You
denote
have to
who?
look at the application, I don't have it in front
What
of
I'm
me,
asking is, does
sorry.
it denote who lived there or who constructed it?
It could be either one.
Right, so is it possible that it was moved and he lived there at some point, or is it not possible?
I think that reading the document would be most helpful.
Okay, and I also, yeah, okay, that makes sense to me.
But I got water bills from both houses.
Okay,
I went to the water department, and they gave me the documentation from the houses of when the well was done, or when they connected the house to
the town water?
the town water.
Okay.
So it's in that folder.
Okay.
There's one for the 441, and there's one for the 586.
still, I think that, Sue, your point is very well taken, that we have records in the office that, and I know for myself, I've not looked there first for records, and that's a very good point. To that end, I know Phil has said at least that the contractors working for the town doing digitization have taken a swath of records from the office. Is that what you've said?
Well, that's why I heard a rumor that there were some empty folders in the files with stuff that was moved someplace, but I didn't get any further information other than it was gonna go on Macros or something. So basically,
Well, the town wouldn't be putting it on Macros, they would just be digitizing it, so nobody knows anything about this, right?
No, and they're working on digitizing other records, and they haven't even
Chad told me it would be
talk to-
4 years before he got to us.
That's right.
So that surprises me, and I sent him an email today, and I didn't hear back, but I don't know what, maybe you could show me later on, Phil, what folders you're talking about, but I would be very surprised if somebody was doing that
Well, there
without talking
was,
to us.
there was a folder for 101 Old Westport Road,
Okay.
because I filed it myself. And
Okay.
then I went for the file to research, and it wasn't in there. There was nothing in the file.
So the file was just empty?
Well, yeah, where 101 is supposed to be, wasn't there.
Okay. Well, anyway,
But the people from New Bedford, the reason why I did a lot of photography for a lot of political people from New Bedford in the days, when I went to the registry, they all knew me. So all I asked them was, could they help me solidify my request? And they all did.
that's great. That is
So-
good, that's good, that's the way it should
But I
work.
did the water bill myself, because someone from there told me to start at the water.
Okay.
Because once the house is hooked up to the water in the town, then you can go from there.
That's
But dates are funny, though, the
Okay.
dates.
Well, so that's good investigation, I appreciate that, Phil, and Sue, you're right. We should use the records we have, and
Because
absolutely.
there's a big executive sheet in that file, so.
Okay, so Sue, anything more on that house, that application?
On 441?
Yeah,
No.
okay. I think we only had 2 applications tonight in front of us. Anybody know any more than that? 2 is all that I had heard about. Okay,
I think 2 came in earlier, but they haven't moved,
Okay.
haven't moved forward.
how do they move? They come into Michelle and she just tells us about it? I'm not sure how that works.
Well, I think that, yes, they come into her and then they get forwarded to us and then somebody starts the research.
Okay,
But there was a blue file folder in the office on the
desk?
table.
Yeah, I'll go in there afterward and take a look at it.
But it's not there now.
Oh.
There was, and then the book was there that Michelle must have put together of all the homes in Massachusetts. And the book and this file was there, because I was in there trying to find something.
So earlier today it was in there, but now it's not there?
No, the beginning of the week,
Okay, okay.
last week.
Well, I can ask Michelle about that tomorrow. Okay, good. Do we have any more business, current business to take care of? We know.
Well, I don't know, can we go?
Please, yeah.
Jump to old business?
Yeah, please, that's what I was gonna do.
What
yeah.
was the upshot of 211 Horse Neck Road? That's the McBratney house where he had promised to utilize the granite foundation and did not. You sent him an email, and so far I haven't seen any
I
response.
sent him a follow-up email as well, and I've not heard any response yet. So I haven't, other than sending 2 emails, I haven't done anything on it. And nor does he now have an obligation to respond. But courtesy would dictate that he would. I pretty much laid out that he told us that he would go ahead and use the old foundation, and he didn't respond. So, do you suggest further action?
I mean, aside from somebody stopping by and asking, I don't know.
Yeah. I've forgotten, what does he do? Is he retired? Is he a builder?
He owns and operates Sylvan Nursery.
Okay. Okay, well, and I got the email off the application. Maybe the email address is incorrect, or he doesn't check it very often.
That's his wife's email.
Oh, okay. Well, I can certainly stop on by Sylvan and ask about that.
Or you can stop by the gift shop on Horse Neck
Oh,
Road.
okay, right. Okay.
There was a house that got layered, it's right near O'Day's home. He did a layering of like a shelfy kind of wall, and he used a lot of that granite.
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw those?
Yeah.
And it was like, and then there was a pile of those wall items stacked up across from that.
Yeah, it's been for many years, right?
Yeah,
Over there?
that's been there for a while.
Yeah.
So, it's not too, you can't really hide those because they're so obvious.
Yeah. But
So,
what is the, I'm sorry, what is the relation?
well, if they had taken those out of the ground and used them someplace else.
Those were new,
They were new?
yep.
Yeah.
They look
All
like
new
very shaped.
granite.
Yeah.
Well, we really have no recourse. You know, he could say one thing and do something else. And do we have any recourse other than to say, you said you were going to, and now you've gone back on your word and?
I think just calling him out on it,
Yep,
yeah.
no, I'm just saying whether,
Yeah,
Well-
you're right, we don't have any
I wish
teeth, and
there was
there's, I
something
don't know
else.
that, I mean, if you cut down a tree, they can be fined. I mean, I don't know if there's any fines. No, so,
No.
There are fines for cutting down trees.
right, but this
But we
wasn't the
don't-
This was not
case.
that.
we have
no.
no teeth
No.
like that.
No.
And we didn't get it in writing.
And we didn't take any pictures because we all went out there and visited
We have
that
pictures.
building.
Oh, yeah, we went out there, the three of us went out there to talk to him and get pictures of what it looked like. I've got 20 pictures on my phone of that, so.
We went
Well,
out there
there's
time
something on
previous to
the
that as
wall that
well.
is.
Well, no, it's a matter, you know, it's well-known, I mean, Sue especially had really documented this very thoroughly, and we sat there and talked to him, and he looked us in the eye and said one thing, and then went ahead and did something different. So I think you're right, given the purview of this commission, our recourse is simply to remind him of what he told us, and maybe he'll say, well, okay.
Yeah,
But that's, if that's the most we can do, that's the most we can do.
His
Yeah.
suggestion was, before we asked him to keep them in the ground, his suggestion was to reuse them for plantings or something.
Yeah.
So at the very least, it'd be nice to know whether they made it to someplace in his landscape,
Yeah,
or whether
okay.
they went away from the property.
I'm sure they're in somebody's landscape now, but,
It'd nice if they, it would have been nice if they stayed nearby.
yeah.
Was it possible that they were gonna face it with the old stone and not?
no, I think they ended up facing it with cement, because that's what you see.
Is the old stone behind the cement?
Possibly, but we don't know, because he hasn't responded to the email.
Oh, okay.
And I guess that would be, I would think, the smart thing to do, because there is an engineer's report that said they were structurally sound. If you wanted to face them to make, for whatever reason, or to put new concrete down there, using Portland cement or something else to just simply put a face on it would have been the way to go. So I'll ask once I can hear back from him, get contact.
And the letter was from a structural engineer, and it's stamped that he could reuse that foundation. So it wasn't just, we think it looks nice, maybe you should use it.
I just point out that maybe in his opinion, he wanted it to be flat concrete, and maybe he kept it but faced it. And would that be in keeping with our wish?
No,
Probably
because we
not.
can't see it.
Right.
Is it, sorry, the home that's above his that spot where that house was, is that his property too, that's in back of all the woods?
Yeah.
Way, like it's like an offshoot from where the,
As you look at it, there's a house that's to the right, kind of toward the road, and then there's a studio and a house that I think is attached to the studio, back there, but there are two buildings set back.
Right.
A little further back, but they're not, off in the woods, I
Right.
think, really. But,
maybe he's got them,
anyway, we have to find out. We'll get an answer on that, but I don't have a better answer on that right now.
we have to
so.
get a drone.
Okay,
I have one more. I'm
please,
sorry,
yeah.
I'm
No, please.
monopolizing this meeting, but I'm trying to catch up on everything since I wasn't able to attend. In April, there was the approval of work to be done at 279 Bakerville Road.
Oh, here we go. Sorry.
I don't remember, okay, go on, please.
It was a very simple house, Greek Revival. It had a screened-in porch. The complaint was that the back and front porches were both rotted, and there were some instances where the siding needed to be replaced. I live a number of houses down on Bakerville, and that house, there is absolutely no sheathing. They removed the chimneys, which they had said in the application because they didn't need them, and they wanted more space, and they've gutted. I know that we don't have anything to say about the interior, but it's basically a shell. And whatever information somebody found on the Macris database was partially correct, but when I went into the office to look in the folder for that address, the former owner was a whaling master, and nothing was said about that during the meeting. So I feel like in spite of the fact that there's not a lot that we can do, that there wasn't enough said to put the brakes possibly on some portion of that project. Plus, they've got all the windows out. So all the windows are out, they've stripped the sheathing, they've taken out the chimneys, and they've gutted the interior. So what part of that house is historical?
I don't remember this house at all. I don't know if I was not there in that meeting, but I have no recollection of this.
We did talk about, I asked them about the chimneys.
Sorry, Bob. Looking at the picture of it, I have no recollection of it. It looks, no, but anyway, so it doesn't really answer your question. Was there any discussion in the minutes about this that related to?
The building department gave him the green light to remove the porches and any portion of the siding that they felt wasn't worth keeping. Well, apparently, none of it was worth keeping.
Okay.
So I think that maybe that would require some kind of a conversation with the building inspector. I mean, if nobody went to look at this property in advance of the meeting, then the contractor or architect chose to do whatever they said he could do, which was take the porches off, remove the windows, the siding, and the chimneys. And after you do all that, you're left with a wooden box.
So are you saying that they did more than they proposed to us in their meeting?
They always do.
No, I think that the building department opened the door. If you can take you can take the chimneys out, you can take the siding down or remove the siding if it's not holding up or it's rotted or whatever it is, then, and you can remove the two porches. So they pretty much did what they said they were gonna do, but there was no discussion about windows or.
I understand, but I would think that this commission would not have approved that as if they stated what you have just said has happened, we would have said, no, it's not like for like, you're changing the facade. And so it shouldn't have gotten to the building department as is. Now, looking at the plans now, they're just somebody hand-drawn on a piece of paper. So I have no recollection of plans that look like the back of a napkin that they submitted into the portal, but that's what it looks like. Do you, Chris, you remember this at all? Or?
Well, I got the minutes from April 7th.
I was just looking for those.
Yeah, so that's 279 Bakerville, right?
This is Casey
Yeah,
Cutting?
so it says, in attendance, Mike Cutting and Eli Powell, rotting front porch and back deck to remove. Driveway side entrance porch will be added to allow better access to the house and new bud room. The back door will be moved to the back of the house to allow for an eating kitchen, and stairs will be added for kitchen access. Small bump rear out added and will match the traditional gable of the rest of the house. Unused chimneys within the walls will be removed above the roof line.
That's right, I remember that.
Yeah, and Christina, you mentioned that it was a Form B, DAR 92, and listed under JD Lapham Gulf Hill Farm Dairy, 1860.
Yeah, there was no dairy there. So I don't know where that came from. There was a gentleman that lived in the house later on who was a milkman. I mean, if that qualifies as being part of the dairy.
I went by the Form B.
If the Form B says that, says dairy?
That's what I recall, that was a couple of months ago now, I have to go back and look.
Yeah.
So what happened to the Form B?
Oh, nothing happened to it, I don't know when the Form B was done, but,
Well, it's on
It might be more than one.
okay. I guess, so are you saying that
There was one done in 1983, and the second one was done in 2008.
Okay. You said that the building department opened the door. What did they open the door to the homeowner doing that we did not know about? I'm not sure if I understand that was not presented to us.
Did it say that they were only removing the chimneys from the roof line up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it looks to me like you can see right through that house, right through from the front door all the way in.
It
So,
did say that, I remember that. They talked about just taking
Yeah.
it from the roof line up.
But I think in discussion, they mentioned that they were inaccessible, or that it was going to be something to do with the interior changes.
Yeah, and I don't even know what we can do about that,
To
honestly.
find out what was discussed, we can go back to the DCTV
Right.
recording.
That's very true, but it would help maybe all of us to understand, because I don't understand if it's on the interior of the house. If we said, hey, okay, above the roof line, take it off, what they choose to do in the inside of the house with the stack of bricks in the wall is not really our purview, is it?
correct, no.
So-
But this is more than, I don't know that they received the permission to do what they've done thus far. Replacing does it say that they were gonna replace all the windows?
There's nothing about windows, no.
Well, that's
I'm sure there's, there's going to be windows for the additions and rear bump outs and all that.
and Sue, I don't live near there, so I haven't seen that seat. And I don't think we have any process for going back and verifying, do people do what they say they're gonna do, or do they do something different? I don't have the time or the process for doing that. It's probably a good thing to do, but, I don't think, I've never gone.
So the application, what they said in their application, if that doesn't match the work that's being done, that's okay.
No, I don't think it's okay. I don't think it's okay at all. If somebody like you who lives near there and is observant and sees that what's being done exceeds what they apply for, I think absolutely there's a right to get, there's an obligation for us to get involved and to, so I'd be surprised that the application that we saw and the application the building department saw must have been the same. So now I see your point, that the building department must have said, yeah, you can go ahead and go on with replacing all those windows. So I just trying to think of how to craft the argument that I would take to the building department to say, I guess, let's make sure that when you're inspecting this, when Jimmy or whoever's inspecting this, that it is kept to the letter of what we and you have approved. And you're saying, in this case, that was not done.
Doesn't appear so to me, but I didn't listen to the recording of the DHC meeting. All I did was read the demo application in the
It
portal.
shouldn't make any difference. They shouldn't say anything that is at all at variance with what's in the application. We shouldn't accept it, they shouldn't say it. It should be what's on the application, and that should be what the building department approves, and that should be what the inspector, watching the building go up, what they adhere to as well. If I'm understanding correctly, does that make?
Well, I got the impression that Jimmy told the contractor that if there were issues with the siding, it could be removed.
Okay.
Well, apparently there were issues with the siding that wrapped it all the way around the house.
This is 211 Horseneck, is that right?
No, 279 Bakerville.
Okay.
Now,
So
they have,
who gets to be if it goes to this point, and we, because you live nearby, notice that it doesn't match what the application said, we have no process at this point for coming back around and making somebody accountable for doing what is beyond the scope of the project we approved.
hello?
Yes.
They have files like we do in the building. And they have a file folder for that house. So if you go down and ask the lady that's in charge, she'll go in the back and pull that folder that's got all the permits and everything, and then the notes.
The permits are all online, so
Right.
it's not a matter of finding the permits, they're all here.
Right.
What was proposed to do is right here, the plans, even though they were drawn with crayon.
Right.
However, apparently what Sue is saying is that what the homeowners and the builders said to us that they're gonna do, and what they told the building department they're gonna do,
Yeah.
they did something more extensive.
Right.
So it's not a matter of finding the plans, we got the plans. Yeah, I'll put that question to the building department, I guess, and just because, you know, I don't know what we can do. It's nice that we've got people like you and others who live near these properties and who are observant and and watch them over time and say, hey, more was done than was said, or they're doing it on the side after the inspector's gone or whatever. I don't know of the best thing to do other than to talk to the building department and say, listen, we've noticed this thing. Can you please keep a better eye on this? And if something substantial is proposed by the homeowner, between the homeowner and the building department, you should let us know about that. If it's gonna have an impact on the facade of the house or a design element that we think is important. Does that you think is a good remediation for this? Well, what would you like to see happen as
I
part of
think
this?
the horse is already out of the barn.
Right, I'm saying.
For the
right,
next time,
For
what
the
can
next
we
time
do?
that this happens, because it will probably happen again. And I don't know if they think about it once it passes this commission, and there are conversations had between the builder and the homeowner and Jimmy or whoever, that hey, somebody might care about this. And it might change the approval of permissions that we gave the first time through. Am I making sense?
Yeah, I think it probably, if there's any change to the application, in this case, more windows and less siding, et cetera, if there's going to be a change to this, then the building department should have them come back in front of us before those changes are made. Because this is what was approved.
Right.
But if
And if there was any discussion about siding, which anybody at this table will make a recommendation like, well, or just a question, what kind of siding are you proposing
Right, that's
to replace? And
typically what we do.
they'll tell you, or what kind of windows are you proposing to replace these with?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody usually has some kind of a comment about that.
Right.
Of course, yeah,
When I
absolutely.
brought up the
So are
chimneys.
you saying that they took all the siding off?
Yep.
Did they replace it, like for
No.
like? No, nothing.
No, it's just bare wood. It's just,
Is it possible that it's
sheathing.
mid-project right now?
it
That-
could be,
that they're
but
putting
how would
on-
you know? I
Okay.
don't have any kind of authority to stop there and say, hey, whoa, what's happening?
What, did you run out of money? Okay, no, so, I mean, it may be that we have to go back and, I have to go back and listen to this, but maybe that we had the conversation, they said, hey, we want to take off some siding. They probably exceeded that, it took off more siding, maybe when they found it was rotted, I don't know. But the question that I would have asked then, are you going to replace it with either the Traditions or whatever the stuff is called, the synthetic siding that looks like clapboard, or what are you going to replace it with? And I guess it's my hope, I know Casey Cutting owns Scuttlebutt in town. And so, I can go in and ask her. I think that's who owns this according to the plan, and maybe they're just mid-project. I don't know.
But I think the building department needs to be aware that if something is going to change in the scope of what we approved, to change more than 25% of any one side,
Yeah,
or not do like for like, or anything along those lines. If there's a change to what we approved, it should come back in front of us.
I agree. I agree. I agree, and it should be, they should, you know, the only person who that'll apply to is gonna be Jimmy, because we don't care about plumbing, we don't care about electric or anything like that, but, or gas, but it's just the outside of the structure, so that makes sense to me, and I appreciate that, Sue. Any other old business before we, oh, sorry. Yes,
Okay, so, a while ago, and some.
Bob, thanks for your patience, we'll get just a second.
A while ago, some of you may remember that there was a sign on.
Oh, yes,
the
yes,
Wood
yes, yes, yes,
House,
yes, yes.
What?
Property, and
Yes, you did that, you did that, you did that.
Philip, was
You're gonna
the
get credit,
only
Phil.
one who was able to kind of get a picture of it.
Wouldn't he kind of, I got pictures from both sides, and I also challenged the person who owns the building.
I know.
Thank you,
Scott.
Phil.
So we're going to try to put things back together. And this is what it used to look like when it was on the building. And it was on the Bridge Street side. And now the current owners have put the 350th tricentennial on that side. And there's no other option on their building because they have windows on the Elm Street side now. So at any rate, I have tried to get an estimate to redo the sign. And at the present time, I have gotten an estimate for a sign that's 18 by 28, and it's $120. I don't know if 18 by 28 is the appropriate size to make the sign, because we don't know how big the sign was.
It was
when-
24 by 36.
No, it was not.
That's 3
That's
feet.
a big sign. It wasn't
It
that,
is a big sign.
that was like a historical plaque. That was,
Oh,
it was the
was.
size.
It was bigger than that.
It was bigger than a regular house. At any rate, one of the ideas that we had about where to put the new sign is on the harbor building.
Harbor Master.
Harbor
Yeah.
Master's
Yeah.
building,
Yeah,
on the Bridge Street, the Water Street side of the building, because it's kind of empty. So we're in discussion about if that's possible. But one of the things that we could do is we could move ahead and use the money from this year's budget to pay for it. So my idea is that if you think we want to do this, and by the way, the Pagnell Village National Registered District designation was done in 1985. So it would be 40 years shortly. It was done in September. So it would be a nice thing if at the 40th anniversary of this thing that happened, that we could get the sign back together. But if we have
What
some,
was the date for that? The-
September of 1985.
You've got a flair for the dramatic. I like that. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
So if we could kind of talk about doing the sign, that you all agree that we should replace the sign, that the idea of putting it on the Harbor Masters building is a good idea. And if we can use the money from this year, because it will evaporate at the end of June, if we don't use it, then we could get it done before the end of June. But I think we need to get a piece of cardboard of that size and stick it up there and see if that's the right size.
Yeah, I can walk over there and measure
do
for what works.
something like that?
And as Linda knows, I did talk to Steve Mello, and he said, yeah, it's a great idea, help with it, but I don't think he's got the final say on that. I think either Chris or Gary has got to bite off on that. And so I can stop by and see one of them tomorrow and ask if they'll, because it's a town building, ask if they'll allow that to happen. And then I like the idea of doing this and unveiling of some sort. Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, great idea.
So that's
Ribbon cutting.
what,
Something like that, yeah. I think, Phil, thanks for preserving this in picture. I appreciate that.
Where was the sign before?
it was on the Wood House,
Oh.
Kind of the strawberry
Yep,
rose,
Strawberry
whatever.
Moon,
and
yeah.
it was on the Bridge Street side.
Yeah,
But it disappeared when they were doing
the
their
construction.
rehab.
I'm sure it's in
Yeah.
somebody's closet. And I tried to talk to the guy there, and they wouldn't let me upstairs to see him, so I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on here.
So-
About the other stuff out in the corner of Tucker as well. I went to go try to talk to that guy, same guy. but couldn't get past the door. But anyway, I think it's a great idea. I think it's kind of a shadow box thing, right? Because it's recessed in, it's got a little bit of reveal to it, right?
Yeah,
Um,
so, I'll just put it on here. So 18 by 28 is,
Well, I'll go measure and see what
see if that
looks,
seems like a reasonable size.
okay.
So if you all wanted to take a vote to say that you want to do this, and then, maybe we can approve the money from the budget, and you can use it.
I don't want to make it more complicated, but if you're visiting the village and you're not familiar with Dartmouth or Paden Aram, is there a way that we can tie some kind of a QR into this?
That's a good
So
idea.
that people can kind of listen, like what's the deal behind Paden Aram Village?
I like that.
Yeah.
It's a great idea,
A
yeah.
lot of the new signs do have those, so, yeah,
Yeah.
we could add that.
I like that.
So how much is a
And we could-
QR?
Oh, QR could be very cheap, might be free, I don't know, but you have to host it someplace. It could be an short audio recording, or it could be just to a website that has some more information on it.
You can flip it to the map, is the, thing itself.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea.
The district has itself on Macris, and it lists all of the properties in the district.
But that doesn't talk about the history of, how Paden Aram got its name and.
Right, so you'd have to create one. You all.
Yeah, so no,
You're a
I-
high school student.
I was looking today and came across something I hadn't seen before. It was a, it was a Massachusetts MCH survey of Dartmouth done, 15, 20 years ago. But it had the history divided into different epochs, and what was the architecture like during this, 1850 to 1870, what was characterized by, so it was really good history. I'm not sure, I'm very late to this game after you folks, but I found it interesting.
I think the beginning of that, it sounds like it was the introduction to the original archaeological survey.
It very well could have been.
Because I know when Holly redid it, she cited the previous one, but she did not include that history
Okay.
again. but-
Is what Holly did for us recently, is that online? Or is
Yes,
it-
we
it
have,
is.
we have e-files
Okay, all right.
as well as,
And the other thing that is
Printed
available, and
copy.
there's a bunch of them in one of the drawers in the office, is the little map of Dartmouth and the different villages, and it has a little bit of a history.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of those.
Those are all outdated, and Mr. Plant has reminded me that someone's got to revise everything that's on it, because it's all,
Well, if it's history, it's not outdated, right?
well, no, it's not accurate history. There are
Oh.
some things on that brochure that isn't
Okay,
factual.
okay,
So,
okay, all right.
different options.
Okay, good. I like this. Thank you for digging into it.
Okay, do you want this?
I do, yeah, thank you very much.
with the QR code thing too, it's possible, there's somebody who's helping revamp the CPC website
Oh, right,
for
right.
the
I got you.
town.
I saw her do that, yeah.
And it's really coming along nicely, so that when you click on they have the map of the town, and then you click on a link, and it shows all the different projects that the CPC has funded,
Yeah,
done by category, whether it's open space or historical or whatever.
yeah.
She did a really nice job, so she might be able to help us to host the information that we want, and the QR code could go to our webpage.
You know,
That's somebody from the town?
no, she's a
She's
outside
She's a
person.
consultant.
Yeah.
She's getting paid.
Right, she is getting paid. But if it's a matter of begging or borrowing, just hosting space for a recording, maybe I saw her do a presentation, which was great, so,
It's a starting point in it.
yeah, I wonder how they're paying for that. I'm sure it's
This will
CPA
come
money.
out of
Apply for CPC
funding, right?
funds for that,
Right.
though.
It's coming out of your fund.
We have
Yeah.
grant money?
Yeah, we have plenty of money in the CPC for
Oh, yeah.
historical
Tons, yeah.
plaques and everything, so if we can't get it done on our budget
Okay, yep,
this year,
it's a good
we
idea.
should apply for some funding for it.
We should also just talk about, not now, but talk about, thank you very much, Linda, talk about, we should do I would like to do a planning session for a coming year where we could talk about projects that we want to either ask the CPC for money for, or that we want to take on, things that are important to us. I think that would be a good thing, I don't know if we've done that in the past, but.
We could start by voting on whether.
Yeah, I would like to. So I like this idea. Do anybody else have any other questions about this? I've heard some other good ideas. It's a shame a little bit because I wish that we could put this on the Bridge Street side simply because more people would see it.
We'll put it on the bridge, I'll see if Millbury would want it on his building.
It's not impossible that maybe on the other side of Bridge Street across from Strawberry, whatever it's called.
Or even that ice cream shop. She's got a lot of wall down there.
Yeah. Well, anyway, but more with the idea of getting the sign paid for with DHC funding. I want to, well, I guess I can't make a motion, but I like the idea, and could somebody make a motion if you want to, and we can vote on it.
I make a motion that we reinstitute the historical Paden Village
Well,
sign.
I think the notion is do we want to use DHC funds to pay for it?
We have
We gotta
some
find out
in
how
the
much the sign's
budget.
gonna cost.
I know that.
We need
I know that,
we
but I'm
need
not
a-
going to ask for more money, but I'm just saying, do we want to agree as a team to use the money for this?
Well, if we don't use it, it's going away.
I
Right.
understand
So we're
that.
trying
I
to
simply
get a
want to take a
motion
vote on
for
it.
it.
Yeah.
Well, all right, I vote that we save the sign and find a home for it before the summer comes and goes.
And I think what you meant, we use funds to pay for a new sign, a replacement
Right,
sign.
you want me to
Okay.
donate some funds?
No, I don't.
I make a motion that we use DHC funds to purchase a sign for Paden Historic Village to go where we can find a spot for it, but use the funds in June before they disappear.
Okay, can I get a second?
I second it.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, boy, that was easy. Good. Bob Hamilton. Hello, welcome, and sorry, should we close the meeting first? Do you think, for DCTV purposes? Maybe not, no, but please come up if you could. And just tell us a bit about yourself. I'd be grateful if you would. I know I talked with you a bit on the phone, which was wonderful, but make yourself comfortable and just welcome.
Yeah, well, thank you. I was aware that
Wait,
Tom was looking.
you have a choice. You can stand at the podium because there's a microphone there, or you can actually take one.
Yeah, if you want to take one to your,
and
take one to your seat, or wherever you want to go. Just so it's recorded for posterity's sake, because the meeting is still open.
Okay,
We have the open meeting laws in Massachusetts, so,
yeah, I'm aware.
yeah.
Well, in any case, can everybody hear me? All right. I became aware that there were some vacancies on the Historical Commission, and I said to myself, well, I think I could probably do some service to the town, at least by applying, and see where it goes. So that's what I did. I went in to the office and spoke with Michelle,
Yeah.
and then she submitted and then I submitted an email to her to get something on the record. She sent it to you. Basically, I've been involved in historic preservation for many years. Before moving to Dartmouth, some 22 years ago, my wife and I lived in Fairhaven, and we were in that town for about 16 years, something like that. And I became involved in about everything in that town. So I sort of backed off when I came here. I said, well, I don't want to get above my head again. But I served as a selectman in the town. I was chairman of the Historical Commission. I was president of the Fairhaven Improvement Association, which was formed by Henry Huddleston Rogers,
Okay.
who created the historic village, and was a native of the town, ended up becoming a right-hand man to John D. Rockefeller in New York. Became very influential and very rich, but he never forgot his town, and he always came back, and he created an entire center. Town Hall, Millicent Library, Unitarian Church.
Was the high school
High
part of that?
school, high
was part of
school.
it.
High school was the final. I think that was 1911, 1912. But he built it all in Renaissance and Elizabethan architecture. So he spent a lot of money, and we created a centennial celebration at the town hall, and I was involved in that, and we all, and Rogers tied in with Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, and they became very good friends. So he invited Twain to give the dedication speech to the town hall, and he did.
Wow.
So there's a lot of history there, and I got caught up in it.
Yeah.
So in any case, I thought that, and I was involved in creating historical town museum in the town at the old Academy building.
Okay.
And that's been very helpful. So there's a lot that goes on there, and I understand and appreciate the importance of preserving the history and sharing the history with the townspeople and people who visit the town. Because many of us believe, are under the impression that most people know about these things, but they don't.
Right.
You've got to
Agree.
You've got to inform them, and that's the importance, I think, of this board, is to kind of spread the word. I had done some research, and when we moved to Dartmouth, and we created Old Dartmouth Real Estate, my wife and I, and we've been running it for 22, 23 years, and we have specialized in historic buildings and village centers, and we market real estate along the entire South Coast,
Okay.
from Westport to Marion.
Okay.
And so we're familiar with all the different towns, and they all have unique characters to them, and this one does as well. And with the 250th anniversary of our nation coming up, seems appropriate to try to tie something in to it. I was struck with the idea that the ship, the Dartmouth, was in Boston Harbor at the time of the dumping the tea into Boston Harbor.
Some Tea Party, yeah.
And they did it from the Dartmouth. And the Dartmouth was built here in Padenham and Dartmouth, as we were a shipbuilding town. I don't think there's a lot of people that know that, and it would be, I think, would be a feather in your cap to be able to say that. And there's so many other things that, and I know that they're on the National Register of Historic Places, and there's a historic district down where the old sign was, and there's one, I believe, also at right in the, what's the name of, I'm trying to think of
In the center of Paid
Huh?
In the center of Paid
No, the other one is where,
Russell's Mills,
Russell's
that's the
Mills
one, yeah.
Village, yeah.
Okay, okay.
I think there were just two.
there's only one.
One,
Paid is not really,
It's not a historic district.
so it's a National Register district, but not an historic district, I guess.
yeah.
Different requirements and criteria for each, but Russell's Mills is the only one that is an historic district in, it's gone through the process in Dartmouth.
Yeah.
I think that being a National Register district is the precursor to the historic district, but I guess taking it this far, residents didn't want to go on to the next stage or something like that. I'm not sure if that's exactly the way it happened, but anyway, your point is well taken.
Yeah. Well, I know when I did some research some years ago, I got involved with creating the Dartmouth Cultural Center.
Okay.
And the town was wrestling with whether they were going to sell that off to private residents or whatever, or whether they're going to try to retain it and use it for something else. So a bunch of us got together and we fought hard to make sure that it stayed as a public building and we pitched the use as a cultural center because we had a lot of artists and so forth involved.
What year was that about, Bob?
Oh, gee, I don't know. I think it goes back over 5 years. I think it's probably between 5 and 10. It's in that range, yeah. But it became, I think it became very successful, and they've done a first-class job on it, and a lot of people use it, and they're, and it. So anyway, I got involved in that, and I thought that I haven't been involved in a lot of other historic things in the town because I've kind of stepped back. I was a town meeting member for a while, and it just our business took a lot of my time and our time. So we had to say, well, we got to be volunteers or we got to run a business. We couldn't do both. It was just two of us, but we have about 8 people working for us, and they still are.
Okay.
But it gave us an appreciation of this town because we showed a lot of these historic properties, and we had to get up to speed on the background and the significance of them, and that was very appealing.
So some of the terminology you've heard tonight, the Form Bs and such, the inventory of the buildings, that's familiar to you. You've done this as part of Fairhaven, and when you're marketing homes in Dartmouth, et cetera, you're aware of that kind of stuff for sure. And you saw the kind of some of the stuff we do tonight. Maybe it's a lot of our work is just kind of run of the mill, talking to people who want to make changes to their houses. So
yeah, it's important, and I know when I was on the Historical Commission in Fairhaven, we worked very closely with the building department to make certain that the description of the property didn't vary significantly at the time in which it was going to be plaqued. And but the building inspector always came through anytime there was work to be done. He would always come through at the end, and he would check everything out, make sure it was what was being proposed is what was done, and nothing else.
Okay.
So I think it's important.
So you heard our discussion about that.
Yeah, I think it's important that you have this discussion with the building department and make certain that we understand what their process is that they go through
Right.
from beginning to end. And I think if they understand the significance of what we're doing, that we're all on the same page, you know. We can't tell them to deny putting siding or this or that, but we need to be in that discussion early on. Otherwise, yes, you can improve your house, yes, you can sell it, but no, you're not getting a plaque.
Yeah. It's a good point, excellent point, and glad Sue brought that up, that issue up, and I think we, you know, as a group, need to get better. Maybe it's acquainting, you know, the building department better with our mission and what we do every month, but it might be a matter also of just having a better process in place, and asking, you know, are you verifying that this does not exceed the scope of what you originally applied for? It's okay, perhaps, if it does, but it just needs to go through, we have purview over that, and it needs to go through another look from this department. So I think that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of talking to each other, understanding that we all have different important parts that we take care that we take care of in the town, and we don't want to step on anybody's toes, but we want to work together.
I understand.
And I'm a type of person that tries to work well with people. I'm a people person. I mean, I don't do everything on the computer all the time. I do what's necessary, but I find it very impersonal to rely heavily on it. I mean, you've got to go back and forth. That's how you get things done, especially in a town. You know, everybody knows everybody else.
And I sent your, I think either you forwarded on initially, or I got from our conversation, a lot of these facts about the work you did in Fairhaven, and your sort of skills and interests and the things that you had experienced doing that made you a good candidate for this commission. And everybody here has seen it. I forwarded it out to everybody. And just so the group knows, there were two other folks who were going to come tonight. One of whom called me about an hour and a half ago and said she had an emergency, she couldn't come. And the other one, blanking on his name, but Dan said, you know what, the meetings at 5:30 might be a hardship for him as a building owner, as a business owner, and he was hoping for a 6:30 meeting. So I said we could talk about it, but that was a challenge for him. Was coming to 5:30 meetings on Monday night. So we're going to have to talk about it a little bit more. I don't know if it's worth thinking about changing, but that this time and day does not present a problem for you?
No, it doesn't, no.
Okay, great. Well, again, thank you for coming in. Does anybody have any questions for Bob, please?
Did you, when you were in Fairhaven, were you part of a Form B review?
Yes, I was, yes. Some of what I did back then is a little foggy, because I haven't done it for a number of years. But I was involved with that. We used, in the Millicent Library in the town had, at that time, I think it still does, has a section that concentrates on historical facts and historical properties, and we would always include that in our process, because they had very good records, and we could have, and they had a woman that was very good at it, and we would go to, and so that was part of the process. And I don't know whether you use the Southworth Library for historical work at all, but I would hope that they could be of benefit to the process. I mean, they should have information that's helpful to you when you're going through and researching a property.
Okay.
And are you familiar, I believe that you left Fairhaven before the introduction of demolition delay, but are you familiar with that process in Dartmouth?
Well, I know that if someone is planning to demolish a historic property, that there's a period in which the town can challenge it. And I don't know whether it's 6 months or less, but I think that's an important process to go through. I mean, you can't basically veto it, but you can pitch the importance of it.
And talk to them about other means of incorporating the original historic structure. Lots of things that you can do, but you're right in saying you can't stop it outright. But it's something that this board has used more than a handful of times.
But you know, I mean, if you lose the history of your town, the unique character of the village, the structures, the traditions, you've lost everything. You know, you might as well just put a bunch of ranch houses up and that's it. Why are you any different than anybody else? So I think it's important to pitch that it's so critical. I mean, I've lived in other parts of the country. I lived in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is a great college town, but it didn't have much history. It had history academically. Then we moved to Washington, D.C., and we lived in Chevy Chase, Maryland. And that was very historical. And we got involved with a lot of what was going on down there. But New England is really, really got much more of it than anyone else, because this is where the place was founded. This is where the place was founded. Yeah. I get involved in saving the American elm, because, as you know, Dutch elm disease took so many of those trees out in the 60s, 70s, and on. But I was always struck with the magnificence of that tree and that it was the Liberty Tree in Boston. And so, like everything else, you know, I got myself involved with the Scouts, and we connected with the Elm Research Institute, and they were creating disease-resistant American elms. And so we started a nursery, and we started planting them around the town, and I said, well, gee, we should do something. So we started an elm nursery in Mattapoisett, and we had like 3,000 trees. Yeah, well, they came in very small because they were root cuttings, but they grew at 3 feet a year, and it wasn't too long before we had, 5, 6, 10 footers. So we had to start moving them out. So I started contacting golf courses and historic villages, and I got them I got them around a lot of different places. And I said, well, let's get some visibility here. So I said, well, let's plant one at the Massachusetts State House, and put a plaque there. So I talked to Governor Weld and Salucci, and they agreed to it. We had a big ceremony there, and we planted it there, and it gets a lot. I said, well, how about doing it down the nation's capital? So I contacted Ted Kennedy, and we planted one right outside the Senate building. And initially, the architect said, oh, Mr. Kennedy, we don't plant anything that close anymore. They're all planted outside. So Kennedy said, well, Mr. White, that will not do. So he found...
You got the voice down pretty well, too.
Yeah, so he found that there was a place for an elm. One hadn't been planted there, so we planted one. But anyway, those are the kinds of things I've got myself involved with in. And you know, I think we've bounced back the elm. Actually, I've got elms on Elm Street along South Dartmouth Cemetery.
Okay.
If you go along Elm Street and look at the cemetery, you'll see probably a dozen elms right along the street there, and those are from my nursery.
Good.
So Dick Munson, who's, I don't know if you know him, but he was involved with the cemetery board at the time, and he planted a couple right in his yard even, you know. So he was a big promoter of them. That's how I kind of got involved with things here. But
Cool. That's good.
anyway,
Any other questions for Bob? I'm sorry.
Just lastly, were you ever involved in any of the master planning sessions in town? Have you read the master plan, the most current version?
I was, but not, no, I wasn't to the extent that I wanted to be. We had created a master plan, and it,
Go ahead.
and I was involved in it, but there were a lot of different people involved with it as well. But I mean, I'm a person who can pick up on different types of planning procedures and so on and so forth, and I think everybody on a board has a different set of skills. I'd like to think this one does as well. Some people are good at creating plans and so on and so forth. Others doing some research on what you're trying to save and how you're going to save it. And ultimately, you've got to promote and market this information to the townspeople if you want their support. I mean, we can all sit here and say, oh, it's this and this. Unless the people know what's happening, it's not going to get out there.
They're working in silence, yeah.
Yeah, you got to be, and town government doesn't do a lot of that. You know, they just assume, you know, people go online and see what's going on. Sometimes they don't. Many times they don't. Yeah. And when they're informed of some of this, they're taken back a bit and they say, "Oh, I didn't know that. Isn't that great?" So I think there's a place for a lot of different skills on a board like this.
Okay, thank you. Any questions any other questions? Any comments from anybody?
I think I've talked myself out.
No, listen, I'm grateful for you coming in and for the experience that you have, and we'll talk some more.
Oh, sure.
About this, but I want to say it's impressive what you've done, and I thank you for your interest. I think we'll get a chance to work together. So I
Okay.
appreciate it. Thanks
Sure.
very much. And I don't think the meeting's got any more business tonight, so I think we can call, unless you guys have some more old business. I do want to get these two other folks in, if possible, just to talk with them some more, and we can do that. But not tonight. So, Bob, where do you live?
I live on 157 Rockland Street,
Okay,
right by the cemetery where Memorial comes into Rockland.
okay, all right.
I'm in as much as I make fun of them, I live in a ranch-style home now.
Hey,
I lived initially at the property, the historic property, on the corner of Shipyard Lane and Elm, 586 Elm. It was a 1812 federal colonial,
okay.
and we lived there
I think I know that house.
about 16 years.
Okay,
And this family that was here, their son, I believe, owns the house now.
okay. Oh, there you go.
Historical plaque.
Yeah, all right, yeah,
Application.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, good.
And so we sold the house at the time of the COVID, not the best time. But it was just my wife and myself. Our kids had moved out. And it was a little bit more of a house than we needed. And so,
And where is the business located? Your real estate business, or is that,
we have a home office.
okay, okay,
So we had an office right in Padenham Village for quite a few years. And then we kind of pulled back, and we were going into kind of semi-retirement. We said, well, why are we going to keep a big office like that?
yeah,
And so we can do everything out of the house and online. And that works for us.
good. Well, thank you for coming in, it's a pleasure to meet you, and I did not, anyway, thank you for coming in. And I'm gonna give you a call, maybe we can get together and get some coffee or something sometime.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Be good. Yeah, right there. I have nothing else for
I'll
tonight. so-
return
Yeah. Anybody else?
Motion that we adjourn?
Please.
Second.
And all in favor? Aye. Aye, okay.